was great for me. It was great for my family. It is by no means something that everybody needs to do. It just happened to occur at the right time for us, and it was the right opportunity. I think what's important there, kind of back to what I've just said, is be honest with yourself and be honest with the company that you're working for. You know, if you want to be mobile, or if you have mobility in your family, state that. And if you can't, then, you know, that's an important part of the decision you have to make. But that's okay. It doesn't, you know, upward, I'm sure that a whole lot of people in this room have been very, very successful without you know, going through the upheaval of moving a family. It's not a required move in many respects. And when we talk about talent management at AstraZeneca, it's part of this situation. But for people who are talented, who have great performance, it's only part of the equation. Yeah, part of the equation.
Okay. Any other questions? Helen in the back.
Thanks so much for sharing your stories. It's Helen Leask from Script. Clearly, none of us are performing very well in the boardroom if our kids are back home playing in traffic. So I have to raise the C word, which has been touched on a little bit, talking about flexible working. How critical has good childcare been to your success?
I'll comment, Helen. I don't think I'd be where I am today without the support that I have had from my family. I will tell you that, and this is actually why I won't move, because my entire support system is very close to where I live. And every morning at 7 a.m., my front door opens and my mother comes through.
You do?
Yes, Nancy. She makes pancakes for my 3 children every morning. I go off to work. My mother does not drive, so my father drops her off at 7. He then comes back at 8:30. My mother has put my 9-year-old son on the school bus, and then my father proceeds to drive my older 2 children, one who's 14 and one who's 16. They go to 2 different schools, to school. And every day, my mother does not drive. She walks to my home in the afternoon, rain, shine, snow, so that she can get my 9-year-old off the bus for me. So, you know, yes, you really do. You know, I'm so, so fortunate. I think it's just as wonderful for my mother and father to have that experience, but I could not do it without that. I couldn't.
Any other? You have the same, Nancy.
Except my mom packs my lunch
I
still.
heard that. My mother does not make my lunch.
Makes my husband's.
I don't get that part.
I had, when my children were young, my children now are a little bit older, they're teenagers, so they're self-sufficient, but they still require a lot of supervision. We were living away from both of our families, so we had to have a nanny and a very complicated travel coordination schedule. We had a great rule. My husband is an engineer and he also travels for work, and at some points in my career I've been traveling 30-40% of the time. And we had a great rule that whoever gets to the calendar first wins. So if his trip was on the calendar, I was the one making arrangements for overnight stays and overnight nannies, and I was the one who was doing that. So I was very good at rushing to the calendar, and I still am. But yes, I mean, I think the message here is for your family, you know, when people need to be away or travel, the support systems are very, very important. And it's great if there's family around. If there's not family around, it gets a little bit more complicated. But that is something you do as with your partner. And you know, roll back the clock. I'm very fortunate in that I selected this wonderful man. We didn't talk about the experiences we had when we were growing up, but in my family that I grew up in, it was a very, very traditional family where my father worked and my mother was not even allowed to work. So I sought a partner that would help me not have that experience in a marriage and not have that experience. So and I think that's a really important aspect of our success. And I, you know, if he was here, I'd say, love you, honey. There you go.